Okay, well, now it's time to take a look back at finances for last year. For many of us that call Hope our spiritual home, part of our worship to God is through giving our first fruits of our financial income to God via His church. I'm going to show a little bit of a summary of what's been given and how it's been sent in this little part. Just to say, we don't receive any external funding. Occasionally we do for Hope projects via grants as a church, but everything that you see happening is funded by the generous giving of people that call this their spiritual home. So we just want to say, first of all, thank you for your partnership in this. As Katie mentioned at the start, our financial year is slightly different to the year we look back on. So that financial year, our last full financial year, is from the 1st of September 2023, and it ends at the end of August 2024. That means that we're just about to submit our accounts for the year since then, which happens 10 months after the financial year end. All of this, you can find the information on the Charity Commission website, who we're accountable to. Normally what I'll do at this point is show an income for the expenditure chart, but that hasn't been sent to me yet because Vision Sunday is a month earlier than we normally do. However, what I can do is explain the figures. From the figures, what we can see is that there's been increased expenditure, but that's been matched by the increased giving as well. So takings from the Small Steps shop that Katie mentioned earlier have increased. And also we used a previous grant that we had for about £12,500 to help with some of the increased costs for the staffing that's increased in Small Steps and Hope projects. And also Hope as a community, we as a church has given about £7,000 additional to help with that there. You'll see a finance expenditure chart. This is for those of you who like me may like a bit of a graphic, but these are our figures and they're being finalized at the moment with the auditors at the moment. But generally, I know the writing's rather small. Just to explain, we've spent roughly 30% on salaries, 30% on admin and premises, and 30% on stuff outside of this community, which we call transforming the world. That includes what we try and do each year is make sure that 22% of everything that's given goes to things outside of Hope. That's part of the legacy we have inherited since we planted this church. The 8% slice on the pie chart as costs, the orange part, are costs for what we call Encounter Jesus. That's like our Sunday gatherings that we do here. Katie mentioned the team. So in terms of who the team is, so I'm employed a day a week. Katie's employed a day a week to lead Hope. And then we have a Hope Projects lead, who's Jules Stevenson. She's paid or employed a day and 2.5 days. Half of that day is actually children's and families. And then we have Charlotte, who's employed as a Small Steps coordinator a day a week, and Kimberly, who works 16 hours a week, but over 3 days. And so those are our staffing costs. Normally, that comes to around 50% of a church's income, but we're below that this year, given what we've been given. So if you want any more information, do come and talk to me about it. That's not a problem at all. Would love to have any questions that you have. Before we look at what we sense God is bringing us into for this coming year, we're going to hear from a friend called Hilary. 2 weeks ago, she came up to me at the end of the service and she said, "Josh, I feel prompted to share something, and I wondered whether Vision Sunday would be the time for that," and asked if that would fit in. So I asked her what it was about, and she said, "Well, it's about my story in terms of giving financially." And given that we share about finances here, I was like, that would be incredible. So why don't we welcome Hilary as she comes up to share what's on her heart today.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, please just stand. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Hilary. I've been calling Hope Oxford my church home for about 4 months now. And I wanted to encourage you with what happened, what changed inside me as I began to give money away regularly. And in our life groups, we've been looking at practices or rhythms that over time transform us to become more like Jesus. We are changed from the inside out as we practice these things. And this happened to me in the area of money. And money is always a hot topic, isn't it? And we feel it's hard. It's hard when we haven't got enough because we haven't got any surplus. How do we give? It's hard when we've got a lot because then we definitely know what we want to spend it on. And I felt that way too. But what I found was as I practiced this and actually did it, something changed inside me. I became less anxious about my money. I learned to trust Jesus more for all my needs. And I never lacked anything. The experience was one of abundance even. And a practical story of how this related in practice was I worked in Germany for a while, and I was actually on a British contract, so I was paid in pounds but spending in euros. And I was attending a German church. So I put this habit of generosity into practice. I found a scripture helpful where it says, Paul is writing to the church in Corinth, and he says, each one of you should give what is decided in his heart to give, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. I thought, okay, so I'll sit down and decide what I'm going to give. And I gave a sum of euros every month, and I just set it up on a repeat standing order. Do it and forget. Just let it run. That's my church. And then there was some political upheaval, and the pound-euro thing changed very rapidly after Brexit. Whoops. My spending power in euros went down 20% overnight. Ouch. And it never really recovered, the euro, that is, or the pound versus the euro. So I just left that standing order running. I thought, okay, I'll just run with it. Even now it's costing me a bit more. But you know what happened? I had plenty. I even received unexpected bonuses from work that enabled me to give more to that church and be really a part of their vision for growing and reaching people. So I'm not preaching prosperity, that if you give, you get more back. I'm preaching the transformation that happens inside you that when you apply this. So I hope that encourages you to become a cheerful giver. Thanks.
Thank you, Hilary. Maybe it's been since the last Vision Sunday that you've joined the church, and setting up or talking to God about your giving is something you're yet to do. That's absolutely okay. There's no pressure at all. It's between us and God. That's what we believe giving is. It is, though, a great opportunity on Vision Sunday to review our giving. In terms of teaching, if it's helpful to know, because many of us may not have heard this, or a number of us may not have heard this, in the Old Testament, people were invited to give 10% of their harvest, their first fruits to God. And it remains kind of something that in church tradition, sometimes actually that's encouraged as well as a good starting point. But for some of us, that feels too hard. In terms of actually understanding that teaching, some of us may not be sure what we think. However, what we heard is Hilary talking about God's abundance. God is extravagantly generous. Jesus died in our place. And so in light of this, our giving is joyful. It's a pleasure and a privilege to give. And it increases, as we just heard, our trust in God. In terms of our pastoral experience, we've seen that having lots or having little and being in debt can create a huge amount of shame and difficulty. And that's why we feel that money can almost hold us captive. And that's where life groups are fantastic. Friendships are important, that we support each other in the matter of financial giving. So do have prayer today, or ask a trusted friend if you're concerned about finances or have questions about financial giving. In terms of when to do this, we'd suggest doing it soon. Days like this are a fantastic time to do it while it's still fresh in our minds before life takes over again. In terms of how to do it, if you've been giving regularly, you'll have an email and you can adjust your giving there. The simplest and best way to give is if you have a bank account through that, but we do have other ways of giving, so do talk to us if you'd like to do that. In terms of how much we know about people and giving, we say that we've never known the amounts that people give. Previously, a little while ago, it's been a while since we've had this, but we would also know who was giving within the life of the church. But just recently, we've decided that in fact we won't know who gives in the life of the church, but we'll just make sure that those who are leading or being asked to lead are people that are giving regularly, as this is part of our following of Jesus. In terms of understanding what's happening with giving, that is important for us to know, and that's why we have finance reporting, and we have a quarterly report from our accountants, and also something that's called a donor pyramid, so we know kind of how much is given by different individuals roughly in terms of being able to manage financial risk so we can run the church well. Okay, so now we're going to look ahead at this season. So if you've seen this little booklet, it's a welcome booklet. In it is our vision statement. It also has 5 of our values that spell space. I'm not going to ask you to remember them all, but maybe just have a look and refresh your memory on those. The final one starts with E. Everyone gets to play. Our sense for this year is that this is what we want to press the accelerator on. With E, it says encourage everyone to play their part. Each of us has a part to play. Everyone gets to play is one of the things that John Wimber, who helped found Vineyard Churches, would just say. This is a place where everyone gets to play. It was a title of one of John Wimber's book. There's a real danger in life that when we come to a place like this in church, we look around us and we see other people and we think, oh, who am I? You might see someone like a church leader or an inspiring Christian and think they must be so different from me. They don't share my fears, they don't share my doubts, and we disqualify ourselves from even getting involved in stuff. We're discouraged thinking that we have little to contribute, if anything. The reality, however, is very different. We're all normal, regular people, but we all have potential to do extraordinary things because of God's power. A core value of the Vineyard movement is to equip the saints for works of ministry. That's coming from the Bible in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12. And if you're wondering who a saint is, if you have a pulse and you love Jesus, that's me included. So looking around the room, you can nudge the person next to you and say, yes, he's speaking about you. In the Bible, in Luke chapter 10, there were 72 followers of Jesus. And those followers of Jesus were sent out, and they came back amazed at what God did through them as they stepped out in faith. Each of us has a part to play, not just those with a title or a specific role, or those with experience, or those with particular knowledge. We all get to share in this wonderful adventure of partnering in God's kingdom work. There's not time to start talking about the Bible examples of this, but I was just thinking through a guy called Gideon, Moses, David, Mary, and a recent personal favorite has been Zacchaeus. He's quite small, but this tax collector who climbed a tree just to see who Jesus was. And he did not think that he would be someone that Jesus would want to be with, but Jesus called him out and said, it includes you. Contributing is part of being part of this family. We say, find home, share hope. It's written on the wall of Hope Kids. That was when it was being painted. It's honoring, it's dignifying to contribute. We show love for one another and those inside and outside of the church family by contributing. It's fun. It's play. It's taking risks with God, as we discovered. It's falling onto God's mercy. It's, as the Bible puts it, it's living by faith and not by sight. I'm going to share a few examples now of different ways in which everyone has got to play in this church family. I normally ask permission before sharing, but it was late last night, and due to lack of time, I'm just going to ask forgiveness instead. So apologies if your name is mentioned. But it's all good stuff, so no need to worry. I'm going to talk about tidying up. The other week, some of the young people were playing table football in the corner, and a glass ointment jar broke. Jordan, who'd seen what had happened, asked Josh, "Where's the Hoover?" When it comes to tidying up and housekeeping, we can all play our part by putting rubbish in the correct bins to help our culture of recycling. We'd love to see that culture continue to grow in terms of this is a place where we're house proud. If we see something needs putting away, we get up and do it. This is our living room, and we want to invite people in so that they can feel welcome here too. I'm going to talk about sharing hope by speaking about Jesus in our everyday lives. In our life group, we've heard a little bit from Carolyn about opportunities through her work or walks in the park. Craig Bathgate has talked about opportunities. He's not been amazingly well recently, but that's brought up opportunities through his work. And in fact, he's had a whole range of opportunities through a triathlon club. That's where he's serving this weekend. Many of us have had those opportunities to share Jesus. In fact, each of us can do that. As just an example from last week, I saw someone who I hadn't seen for a while on the school run. So I crossed over the street, hopefully not too ominously, and I don't know where he stands in terms of his faith, but 50 meters walk down the road, he'd shared about redundancies at his work. We then had the incredible opportunity that I was able to pray for him. He said when I prayed, he was touched that I'd prayed for a compassionate community spirit within the workplace for his work colleagues to support each other in this challenging time. And that's exactly what he felt he was connecting with. I'm going to talk about invitations. In our life group, there's a WhatsApp group. And last week, Aaron shared, does anyone have a link so I can invite a neighbor to the Easter egg hunt that was happening that Saturday? I was dressed up as a bunny and I saw someone. I asked out, how did you find out about this event? And he said, you know that guy dressed up as a chicken called Aaron? He's one of my neighbors. He told me it was happening. That was the guy that he'd invited. I don't know that Aaron knew he was going to wear a chicken suit when he invited him, but it was just all good fun. Each of us can invite someone to something. We'd love to see all of us contributing to this culture of invitation. We have something beautiful to share. I'm going to talk now about life group. Part of having hope is knowing that you are valuable and that you have something to contribute to God and to others. God's kingdom work is not just for people who have it together. If that was the case, none of us here would qualify. We all need grace that comes through the love of Jesus. We bring our doubts, our questions, our fears, our struggles, our successes to life group. We celebrate together as we did last week with a couple of birthdays. A load of us help make life group happen. We've now got, for the Wednesday one, a little WhatsApp poll, which means people can say, I'll want to contribute to this or to that or the other, from snacks to leading a Bible study to opening the door to running the Google Meet session so people can join virtually. All of us have a part to play. If you're wondering about this picture, I used to train potential life group leaders. We used to call them small groups at the church we were previously at. And we'd use this image of a spider's web. That's how a well-functioning group looks. It's not like a bicycle wheel where someone in the middle is doing a whole load of stuff and everyone's connected to them. But it's everyone connected to everyone. Each of us is valuable. If you took out one of those links, there'd be a hole. Each of us has something to contribute. Talking about prayer and worship. How wonderful it is to be, as Katie was saying, in the prayer gatherings on Tuesday mornings or the first Sunday nights at Alison's home. To see the prayer room sign-ups grow. To see worship on the streets happening. Prayer underpins any movement of God. And it's a catalyst also, I find, for my personal hunger for God. Everyone gets to play. why don't we say everyone gets to pray? With worship, each worshipper matters. I was at the Maundy Thursday event that we had here at 6 p.m. as a shopping centre closed. One of my highlights from that evening was being with two of the youngest members, or some of the youngest members who were there, two toddlers. And I punctuated reading a story for a minute, and then we got up and danced for a minute. We went back to the story and carried on doing that. It was so precious to see their freedom in that space as we worshipped God together. Each of our voices here matter. It's precious when we have times of worship here together. No one can sing to God but ourselves. Other people can't do it on our behalf. Each of us has a voice, and each of our voices matters, and it matters to the Lord. Sundays are an important opportunity to encounter God. That's why we do things which may be a little bit frustrating, like close refreshments at 10:30. That's why we've moved the sofas further back, because we found for some of us they're distractions that get in the way of us honoring God and worshipping. And when we hear the countdown timer, it's amazing now to see people coming to the front ready for worship, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a call to worship. Let's encourage each other to do that whenever we can. If we're late, that's okay. But if we can, let's plan to be on time and welcome newcomers that may be coming at 10 a.m. Just a wonderfully welcoming church. It's just incredible to be part of this welcoming church. No matter what age, appearance, background, everyone is welcome to come to Jesus. That's why I feel safe here. It's a beautiful thing. Diversity is incredibly beautiful. God is diverse, and we are too. It's a wonderful reflection of God's heart. And so the encouragement is to keep that up. When we can, also, let's encourage each other to find our place in this family, whether it be where to serve on a team and use our gifts to encourage others and help the family grow. And finally, talking about giving finance. I've already spoken a little bit about this, but this is another part of everyone getting a part to play, and it is fun. It's an adventure. We get the joy of seeing what God does when we give our money to Him. We feel part and invested in this family. So when we see the pictures come up, we go, that is because of a contribution I made. We get bonded to each other as we do this together. God gives us an experience of provision in our lives when He meets our financial needs, sometimes in miraculous ways, as we've heard from Hillary, and that's been our experience too. As we come into land, Katie mentioned I was going to share a little bit about this word called sabbatical. If you, which Katie and I and our family are going on, if you receive our monthly email, which is in the newsletter called Hope News, you'll know a little bit about this already. We're also going to share in the May newsletter about sabbatical. So if you haven't signed up to it, do go online and sign up to the newsletter, and you'll hear more about this, because we're going to share a frequently asked questions document, which has been helpfully given to us through the Vineyard movement, through our area leaders. And it includes details of what's happening, when, and explains the people that are going to be responsible while we're away. In terms of sabbatical, well, what is it? It's in a context of church leadership. Generally, it's a saying in life group this week, I don't know much about gardening, but I understand that letting land rest, being uncultivated and unseeded for a period, allows it to recover from the nutrients that it's given out over previous seasons, allowing nutrients to return, improving the soil quality and fertility for the next season ahead. We look forward to such a rest. We know it's needed. The last 7+ years has involved some work. It's going to be hard also for us to lay that down, and that's healthy too. We're going to miss this wonderful group of people who we call family. It's going to be hard for us, being relationally distant for a period of time. But in faith, we believe that we're going to come back refreshed. Come back with renewed physical and spiritual heart. And then we can then step into this next chapter of church leadership in a better way. We've also read about sabbaticals that it's really healthy for a church to experience that too. There can be real benefits as people step up and step into things that they haven't done before. As long as the stretch is not too big, then it's a real life-giving opportunity. Each of us has a part to play. It might be this is an opportunity to join a monthly team, to welcome a newcomer that you see coming in, to offer to meet up with someone for a midweek coffee, to support someone else who's leading through prayer or lending them a hand. You may want to reach out to someone in life group that's in need. We may in this season need to say no to some things in order to say yes to something else. But let's just ask God, what is the Lord inviting us into, as Hilary said earlier, being a cheerful giver from our heart. So our encouragement is to pray about this and see what the Lord might be asking of you. And the key thing is that you know you are valuable to God and his church, no matter how small it may feel. And now this final slide. This is what Mother Teresa said. I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together, we can do great things. Using our words at Hope, everyone gets to play. And your part to play is incredibly valuable. And this is great news that Jesus told his followers to share by the power of God's Holy Spirit. That in God's love, everyone can find home, and together we can share this hope with the world. Why don't we take